Call now.
800-379-1174. 800-379-1174.
KLYC forecasting a chance of rain continuing. Good chance of rain this morning and later into today. Today, expect maybe a half inch of rain. This morning's low, and Saturday night low, and Sunday night as well. Cooler, 38 this morning, 37 Saturday night. Sunday night maybe down to 33 degrees. Showers likely through Saturday evening. Daytime highs should be in the mid-40s Saturday, Sunday. Maybe only up to 39 for a high on Monday. It's 42 degrees outside.
Right here to the root of it on where am I? KLYC 1260 AM. This is a weekly gardening show for you Yamhill County gardeners out there. We are usually joined with Kyle and Ray, but Ray is away, so we've got our master gardener Sharon here with us also. Thank you, Sharon, for joining us.
My pleasure, Kyle. It's good to be here this morning.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It is kind of good. It's actually the first time that I've gotten out here in the world with other people. I've been sick for about a week now. I got that flu, got vaccinated and everything, but that didn't seem to help, did it?
No.
And so feeling a little wheezy. We're gonna wave through this. I've got Sharon here. She's gonna help me. So Sharon, how are you?
I am doing great. No post-holiday blues. Everything's good. Had a fantastic time with my kids and my grandkids, and my husband and I have managed not to wear ourselves out this year and just enjoy the year, enjoy the holidays.
And that's what you're doing right now. You're perfectly
calm, just right along.
I didn't even think the blues were possible, actually, because because my family, we didn't experience a holiday, I think, like everybody else experienced the holidays, because we've been shut in and kind of sick. But so I think at one point my daughter said it doesn't feel like Christmas, and that felt kind of sad.
That is sad. And I think the high point of ours, although there's a lot of, really good times and everything, was after dinner with a whole lot of family members on Christmas Eve at my daughter's house out in Yamhill, and my grandson and granddaughter got up, and one hit the piano and one got her cello, and they played music for us while we sat around the table.
Isn't it nice to have kids that play musical instruments?
Yes, they're wonderful.
Because
wonderful.
What I've always been told is if you have a kid that plays a musical instrument, you'll have a soundtrack for your life.
Absolutely, and it was really interesting because their dad likes to surprise them. He really enjoys the fact that the kids do these things, and their gift this year was 3 violins.
Wow.
Yeah. How great is that, huh?
That is awesome. Yeah, I often dream of getting a grand piano or a Steinway or something like that to make it worth playing on. But we got to hear 1 or 2 Christmas carols, but nobody was really
I'm sad for your family, and I'm just glad they're getting better and everything, and on the way to healing now. So that's a good thing.
Yep.
That's a good thing.
Good. So let's talk about the weather that we're having right now, because it is it's different, isn't it?
It is very different. It's been kind of a rock and roll season of weather. We had the early freezes when it dropped clear down to 20, and then all of a sudden everything got confused because it warmed up, and they started to, we got to grow. No, we're not going to drop our leaves.
Well, that's what you were saying. Even in your garden, you have some things poking up, right?
Oh, yeah. I've got so many things, the bulbs and so on, the early spring blossoms that are trying to come up, and my pansies are blooming like crazy. And here comes a freeze in front of us again, and so I'm going to need to get in there and get those protected.
And let's talk about that freeze that's coming up, because we've got, today we've got 47, and then the temperature just starts dropping at night, 34, 26, 25, 26, 31. this whole week is going to be essentially below freezing at night.
Yes, it is. And I am just really, really in hopes that not only can we protect our gardens, but all the people who are going home from Grandma's house and traveling will be super careful on the highways too.
Right. It is going to be pretty cold out there. So
Yeah,
what are we going to do? These pansies that are coming up, what do you do, Sharon?
I just kind of fluff up some of the bark or whatever, the ground covers that are around them to give them a little bit more protection, and then kind of give them my blessing and hope we make it.
Because you essentially know that there's more where they came from, but right, exactly.
Yeah.
But that doesn't prevent. There's a lot of other plants that require the frost care too. And actually, the thing that came to mind is I've got these pots out front that I remember when you were on earlier, you asked me if I had drilled holes in these middle tin things, which I didn't, and I haven't yet. Still haven't. That's been almost a year, maybe.
I'm going to get my drill and come over to your house pretty soon.
Exactly. So along my doorstep and the stairs up to the door, I've got these pots that are just filled with water. And so what's gonna happen this week is they're gonna rain, they're gonna freeze, they're gonna.
You're going to have decorative ice cubes.
Yeah.
Big ones.
Yeah, and it's just going to be stuff to slip over.
You'd be actually better, if you're not going to poke the holes in the bottom, you'd be actually better to very gently lay them over on their side and let the water drain out than let that happen to them.
That is what I should do with them, huh?
Killer you.
I don't care about the pots or taking care of the pots or anything like that, I guess. But anything else in your garden that should probably be taken care of during this frost?
Well, during the frost season like this, there are some plants that are rather sensitive, and one of the things that we can do is you can fairly inexpensively buy a roll of frost cloth, which you can lay over the top of them, and that helps to hold some of the frost from actually landing on top of them. And it also helps to hold some of the ground heat in, so that gives them that added bit of protection. You can only do so much, but that's a good way to do part of it.
Yeah, and what I'm looking at here too is it's not going to be one of those humid cold spells. It looks pretty dry. We're going to have clear during the day, and that's potentially harmful also for the plants because they can dry out really fast that way.
That is,
too.
and that's one of the things that a lot of folks don't realize is, especially the plants that are underneath of your eaves. And in my case, that would be my front yard, which is the northern exposure. And through the wintertime, even though you've got snow and you've got ice and you've got rain and you've got frost, you got to water them. Once a month, you need to make sure they get some water in there. And that way the roots don't completely atrophy and go away, and then they'll come back in the spring.
Yeah.
So it sounds strange, and of course we winterize our hoses and our hose bibs and everything. But
I know that's true. So how do you get the water over there if you bled your hose
turn
on?
it on, you take that little frost cap off of the top of the faucet, hook the hose up, and give them some water. Or if you don't have too much space, you can get out the bucket and watering can and use a deep sink in the garage and go pour some on them.
Yeah, because we're looking at about 4 or 5 days of dry weather. So this will probably go away. That mud will at least trickle away. But the potted plants are the ones that you've really got to be watching during these dry frost periods.
Yeah, you do. And I unfortunately have a habit sometimes of forgetting the ones that are on my patio that also don't get any of the rainfall and stuff. So
That's right, because if they're covered, and because I have ones that are in front of my house and I don't care about them once the winter starts, the rain takes care of them. But the ones that are in the porch, I do tend to forget about.
it's easy to do, especially during the holiday seasons or when the weather's cold and you just don't feel like going outside. If you don't go outside, you don't see them. Out of sight, out of mind.
Right, exactly. And you know what? A lot of them maybe have lost their leaves too, and they're just not noticeable anymore. They're not craving for help.
Exactly.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break real quick? And then when we come back, we'll talk about some things that we can do with these winter plants that have accumulated, particularly the poinsettia.
Okie dokie.
So, for right now, you're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC 1260 AM. So, the sound is echoey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds hollow tube,
Like
kind of
right now.
tunnel. It sounds like a tunnel.
Oh. Oh, were those all? Yeah, it's kind of throwing me off. Okay, are you gonna be?
For your soil. Northwest Greenland's a Recology company. In McMinnville at 2200 Northeast Orchard Avenue. Call Recology Northwest Greenland's at 503-434-1671. 503-434-1671. Recology Northwest Greenland's a proud sponsor of To the Root of It on KLYC. In business and taking care of your needs since 1983. It's D&D Electrical. Big company support, small town service. They are your full-service contractor, residential, commercial, and industrial, including low voltage and security. It's D&D Electrical. When asked, their answer is usually, yes, we can do that. From solar to security systems to industrial control, D&D Electrical can handle the job. 503-472-4003. Ready to go to work for you right now. D&D Electrical, McMinnville.
Hi, this is Denise Stounberg for Fircrest Assisted Living. At Fircrest, our goal is to create an atmosphere of joy where fun and camaraderie are a part of each day. As a resident of Fircrest, we will work with you to provide care and services you select to maintain your current level of independence. If you are ready to write the next chapter of your life, let us write it with you. Together, we can make your story all about you. For more information, call 503-472-2200 or visit our website at www.fircrestcommunity.com.
And we are back. You're tuned right here to the root of it on KLYC, 1260 AM. And we are talking about we're talking about winter, and we're talking about frost that's coming up, and we've got poinsettias that may have been planted, right?
Yes.
Or given, and a lot of questions, and when we do get this in at the extension office is, how can I take care of the poinsettia? Will it last longer? And the poinsettia, it's from Mexico, and it's in a little higher altitude area, but it requires
A lot of care. Yes, it does.
And so these things that we get from these big box stores that are just thrown at us, they once again, as we discuss on this show, they're actually when you get the plants from the nursery, they're charged with so much fertilizer that's what's sustaining them, and then eventually that's just going to go, and then you're left with what you have to do, but. That's why these poinsettias look so great and they're so bright, is because they've had so much fertilizer kicked into them, right?
They have, and
The
that's
point that
they grow
the
them that
point
way.
that
Is
they
they're
grow them
growing them for a market where they are not a native plant, and so they're forcing them to be ready for us, but our environment is not friendly for them.
Yep. And it's only friendly for them because they're inside, and during the time that they're doing this bloom, they're naturally doing it because they're used to not the light, so they're used to less light during this time of year, so that you can have them inside. But then eventually, let's say you do want to keep it, they're going to want a little bit of light.
Yeah, they do have minimum light requirements, and they have water requirements and fertilizer requirements, and they are going to drop those beautiful blooms no matter what you do. They have
Scary
a
to see.
lifespan, and they're going to go away.
Right. And you were talking about you had one a few years back that somebody had just left in the place that you moved in, right? And they had planted it outside, which is what usually kind of happens, is somebody gets it for Christmas and they're like, I'll put it outside. But you had good luck with this one, right?
Well, it was, but that was in Glendale, California, where they do not have the. In fact, I think they're down there running around in their shorts doing their Christmas shopping and so on.
Getting ready
But-
for the Rose Parade.
Right,
Exactly.
right on. But yeah, so anyway, down there, I had one by my front porch, and I just absolutely loved it. This was clear back, gosh, I think that was the year Debbie was little and Dee Dee was on the way, and that poinsettia was gorgeous, 8 feet tall next to my porch. But that won't happen here.
That will not happen here
No.
unless
No.
you have a nice greenhouse.
And you
perhaps
baby it. Oh,
heated
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got an arboretum?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
plant them inside, give them the environment, the amount
Mm-hmm.
of moisture and light and heat and everything that they need, and they'll survive.
Mm-hmm.
If we want them to survive here, we're going to have to say, okay, do I really want to invest a huge amount of time to preserve it? If you have the environment in a greenhouse or an arboretum, that's great. Otherwise, plan to put in some labor in it because you have to put them in specific areas and do specific things. And
And why don't we talk about that? Because I was able to find a website online from an extension agent down in Texas, and he was talking about the care if you were going to you might repot it or not even repot it. But the minimum of what you have to do is when in January you start by applying an all-purpose houseplant fertilizer, and you need to continue the light water with the fertilizer, and the plant's going to remain colorful for a few weeks
for a
still.
few weeks, yep.
And then Valentine's Day hits, right? and you don't do anything unless the plant has become long and leggy, and then in which case you prune it 5 inches from the soil. So it's kind of like rose care, kind of drastic rose care.
Exactly.
And then St. Patrick's Day hits. So you then remove the faded and dried parts because they're there. It's
Right.
died. It's gone to sleep.
Yeah, and those faded parts, if you don't take them off, they put a strain on the plant because the plant is trying to support them.
that's right.
Okay, so if they're trying to support growth that is basically done doing its thing, then you're doing it a favor by cutting it off and letting more of the strength stay with the stalk and the root of the plant.
Yep. So you can take care of it that way, and then so in May, you add a little bit of potting soil to it, but it should be around 3 feet tall by this
Well,
time
yeah.
if you're taking care of it like this.
Sure, but think about your roses. I mean, it's a whole different plant life, of course. But it's all plant life. We prune those stinkers down to where they're about 16 inches tall,
Right.
and then in the spring, they're already getting ready before spring actually hits to grow. And I've got one in my yard that is like over 5 feet tall. Within a couple of months, it just takes off and goes. Well, these guys are doing the same thing. They kind of take a resting period, and then when they take off to grow, they grow.
They start going
Yes.
at it, and we've got some dings going on. So we've also so we're in May, and it's 2 to 3 inches from the ends of the branches. You want to trim them, and that's going to promote the side branching. So it's going to branch.
It get fuller.
out.
Yeah, makes it get full.
That's right. What do we got, Dave?
We have a call. We have a gentleman by the name of Ray Van Blarcom.
We've got
Oh, Raymond.
Ray is on the phone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ray. How are you doing,
We're
Ray?
sitting here in front- Well, we're
this
sitting
is-
here.
Yeah.
We're sitting here in front of the fireplace, watching the granddaughter try and roll over.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
It's a very thrilling morning.
Great. So Ray, the usual host, co-host over here, you are up in Washington enjoying the Christmas and obviously listening to the show.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's actually cool.
Well, good for you. We're happy to have you call in this morning. And, gee, I wish you had a camera broadcasting. I'd love to see that new grandbaby.
Oh, I will bring pictures back.
Oh, I
That's-
have
that's
no
for
doubt.
For sure, certain.
That is
Yeah,
great. So how was the
I've
weather
even
on the
got
way? How was the weather on the way up there? How's the weather where you are?
That was absolutely, just fine. It was just, foggy, use the wipers twice type stuff.
Where are you in
And,
Washington? What town?
I'm in Seattle.
Oh,
We're
okay.
over by the lake on the other side of the hill from the.
Oh, good.
Where exactly is
Seattle.
Seattle? Sorry. That was
way
a
north.
joke. Yeah. So that's good. What's the gardens like up there? What are you looking at?
Oh, actually, I did take a really cool picture this morning of a little window box with some colored spinach
Yeah.
and a group of colored kales.
Wow.
And I'll be dadgum if it didn't look this cute as a button with some primroses in it.
But it was nice and contained indoors.
No, it
No?
was right out on the front
Right.
porch.
Oh my
just
gosh,
bigger
this
than
is
life.
wonderful. Yeah.
Primroses about 10 inches tall.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's like, I'll be dadgum. That's a pretty cool box.
Yes. Isn't it fun
So anyway.
mixing the flowers and the food?
Yeah, and the colors are what surprised
Sure.
me was it wasn't just all green or all mud brown or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. All black like my beds.
Great. Well, Ray, did you have anything else
Well,
to
you
contribute?
guys have not at this time, sir.
Not
I
at
will
this
be back next week.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks for checking in.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Ray.
Oh, that was fun.
That was. He's such a
So
good guy.
I am certain that he was using the Christmas gift that I got him. I got him a Windows smartphone,
Oh,
and so
okay.
he should be feeling a little bit smarter right about now. He was telling me how he was checking his Facebook and things like that on his phone. And
Good for him.
as it turned out, the phone actually has a processor in it that's twice as powerful as the one in his desktop.
That doesn't surprise me. My computer's 8 years old.
Yeah, same kind of technology. So yes, Ray is he's using a cell phone, and that's great. So he's probably also streaming us on Facebook,
Oh.
which you can do. You just go to facebook.com and type in KLYC Radio. That's where we are. And if you want to get the show afterwards, it's going to be up on YouTube. Just do a search to the root of it, KLYC. Well, we were in the middle of poinsettias.
Poinsettias, yes, we were.
And we had gotten all the way to May, and they're 3 feet tall, possibly by this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to want to consider repotting them into a larger container. And the thing that I learned is that when you repot them, you don't want to pick a container more than 2 inches wider than the current container. And I wasn't sure of the reason for that.
Okay, I can compare plants to fish here.
All right.
Okay, you have a little tiny goldfish bowl, and you put the goldfish in it, and he's happy swimming around, and he stays kind of little. You put him in a bigger tank, and he's going to grow to his environment.
You're giving it
Okay?
opportunity.
And then you give him another bigger. Okay, plants kind of do the same thing, but it's the roots that we're looking at, because you put a plant in a small pot, and it's not going to get very big. You put it in a bigger pot, and it's going to get bigger, and a bigger pot, and it's going to get bigger. So you kind of control the spread of the roots,
I see.
and in spreading the roots, you're controlling the spread of the plant.
The ability to uptake nutrients.
Exactly.
So, I get it now.
Nutrients
so,
and space.
so what it sounds like is like I said, we're dealing with the poinsettia here in May, and we've got to get all the way to December. So we don't want this thing to get out of hand at this point. So we're putting it in. We're repotting it
Yep.
because the roots are touching the container, but we're not putting it in such a large pot that it's just going to go blackberry.
And get big leg. Exactly.
Right.
Don't want it too leggy.
So then, we've gotten through May. We're into July, July 4th. I like how this extension agent has gone ahead and put markers for us to remember these holidays. So July 4th, you need to trim the plant again, make sure it has full sunlight, and slightly increase the amount of fertilizer. At this point, it will grow like a weed. This is where it starts to just absolutely take off. So you're going to want to be prepared for a much bigger plant.
And the bigger they get and the bigger the pot, the harder they are to move to a location where they need to be.
And that's the tough thing that I'm dealing with this poinsettia is if we're taking care of it and we're helping it through its own life cycle, it's getting tall and bigger, and it's no longer this thing that I can put on my office table or my
Right. Next
home
to your
or
front
something.
entry or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems
Yeah.
like something that now belongs out of doors.
Right. That's where we have to make the decision. Okay, we've taken something from its environment. We're growing it someplace else. We know what we paid for that plant. Somebody else was
somebody
generous
gave it
enough,
to us.
or somebody gave it to us for a gift. And you have to make a judgment call on how important it is to you to preserve that plant. And if you really want to put that much work and effort into it, or if you want to say, okay, I'm not going to be enjoying this until the holiday season. Next year, do I really want to do this?
Yeah,
And
it seems like a science experiment.
Yeah,
Like if you want to
it
go
just about
through the
is.
process, and you haven't done it, that's probably why you want to go through the process, is because you haven't done it.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it is an experiment, and
know.
my husband would be the first to tell you, "Oh God, everything she sees, she's got to try," and let me see if I can do this or find another way. So this is one I have thought of trying, but then as I was reading through before, I'm going,
Yeah.
if I had an arboretum, I would.
Yeah, there are a lot
No.
of other plants that need my attention, I guess, before the $3.99 poinsettia.
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly.
But
exactly.
for those that are daring and still going on, we're reached September. So in September and taking care of the poinsettia, it should be 5 to 6 feet tall by now.
And it has to have 13 hours of darkness and 13 hours of light and a certain exposure. It needs like their south or southwest exposure to get the proper amount of sun rays that it needs to have to do its thing.
Right.
Are you ready to move it?
It needs at least 6 hours of direct sunlight, and you can start reducing the fertilizer. And then at the end of September, you need to actually move it to a place where it only gets 13 hours of continuous darkness. I mean, it gets, so it's 13 and 11. And then 11 hours of bright light.
Right. At that point, you'd better have it on a dolly to move it around.
Right. And and it is amazing. They started so small.
I know. Well, our kids do that too. They
But
start
then the other
small
thing,
and then they get big.
So you've got to stick it in a closet and then take it out of a closet, or you've got to have it in a box and then take. It's a really
It's
complicated,
quite a
hard thing
process.
to do. Yeah.
And you just have to reach a point where you decide if you're going to either do that or you're going to let go. And for myself, when this year when my plants were going to seed towards fall, and I'm out there preserving some of my seeds, I put them in envelopes. I put them in the refrigerator. They're all labeled what they are and what color they are. And they just sit there all winter, just as if they were underground. I don't have to do anything. And then in the spring, then I put my effort into planting those and making more flowers. So the poinsettias are absolutely gorgeous. We love them. But
So the garage might be the best bet to do this in. So then Thanksgiving comes around and you've got this 6 foot tall poinsettia. You can stop the dark treatment. So you've been doing the 13 hours of darkness for 2 months now. You can stop it.
Yes, it'll.
And then you can put the plant in a sunny location, reduce water and fertilizer again, and then by Christmas you've got a blooming poinsettia that might double as a Christmas tree.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You got that one. But yeah, so it can be worth the effort if you have the time, the energy, and the resources to do it. Otherwise, don't stress yourself.
But you have a poinsettia that you've had for multiple years, right?
Not
that
anymore.
you take down from the attic?
No. Oh, yes, I do. Yes. Yeah, I think they're called silk plants.
Silk plants are
And
pretty.
I can gather them all up and put them in a plastic bag in their plastic container. They go in the attic, and then springtime and at Christmas time, well, actually about Thanksgiving time, I take them down and start setting them out. And they're beautiful every year.
They just come right back. It's incredible. So plastic plants, silk flowers work really well also.
Yep.
But again, we get this question at the extension office, and people do want to take care of the poinsettias. It's a tough job.
It is. It is a tough job, and kudos to anyone who is willing to take it on.
That's right. Let's take a break right now. When we come back, we can get into, let's get into a calendar of sorts. Maybe what we can be doing during the year. For right now, you're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC 1260 AM. Losing my voice now.
You need some. Yeah, I'll take one of those. You just better double it.
Thanks.
They help. They help.
So how's Mr. Ray doing? Good?
Sounds good.
He sure.
We got from all the radio listeners out there this week, and it's still, you got plenty of time to order your local hams, your Shelton turkey, and your Harris Ranch prime rib roast if you're going to have that for the New Year's and the duck game, I guess. We're more than happy to help you.
Oh, what's the deadline for that?
Up to the day of the holiday, we can take them. We've kind of pre-planned what we might anticipate as far as sales go. So we did run a little low last week, but it took us less than an hour, and we had product here in the store.
Wow.
So we can accommodate pretty much anything.
Okay.
But this week, we got some great items. I have a new item I just want to throw out there because we rarely get Florida fruit in. But we got these, they're called Baby O bag mandarins, and the fruit is just fantastic eating. It's juicy. They're seedless, sweet as can be. They're kind of like a satsuma, but soft skin and just packed with all kinds of juice. And they're 3-pound bags, and they're at $5.99 this week. And I think I'm the only one in town that has them. I haven't seen them anywhere else in town, so I'm kind of excited about them. So those should
Nothing
be
like
great
juicy
items.
fruit on the holidays.
Exactly, that's true. That is true. And then we also got those big, humongous Fuji apples back in at 99 cents a pound this week. And we have those ever-popular heirloom navel oranges still at $1.29 a pound. And we still have the jumbo baker potatoes at 3 pounds for 99 cents. And we have broccoli crowns at $1.29 a pound. Over in the organic section, we have Cara navels. They finally came out. This is a cross between a grapefruit and an orange, and they make some fantastic juice at $2.49 a pound. We also have a 5-pound bag organic potatoes at $3.49 a bag. We have organic yellow onions at 99 cents a pound. Over in the meat department, we got fresh true cod filet this week at $7.99 a pound. Great fish and chip fillets there to use for the football game. New Year's Day, great one. We also have Carlton Farms boneless pork loin chops at $3.99 a pound. And to finish it off, we have Mary's chicken leg and thigh combos at $2.99 a pound. And don't forget, we got all kinds of party trays, you guys. If you need hot wings, fruit trays, veggie trays, we got it all. So don't forget to come on down and check us out.
What are your holiday hours, Bob?
We're open New Year's Eve from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And New Year's Day?
We're closed New Year's Day.
Closed New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So get it now at Harvest Fresh downtown at McMinnville on 3rd Street. Great food, great people to take care of you. Fill up your party tray and come on down.
Absolutely.
Happy holidays, Bob.
Hey, happy holidays to you. Thank you.
Want a t-shirt design that fits you and your business or organization? Try Devo's Custom Screen Printing in McMinnville. Devo's Screen Printing designed the KLYC glow-in-the-dark tie-dye t-shirt, and they did a great job. If you want personal service with someone who will do everything they can to provide you the best shirts possible, the best design, and at a price you can afford, it's Devo's Custom Screen Printing. They're the KLYC screen printer of choice, and we highly recommend their work. Call them at 503-857-2396. 857-2396. Devo's Custom Screen Printing, McMinnville.
Listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC, 1260 AM. Wow. So, Sharon. Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
I was just glancing through the internet here because I forgot to bring in my Ask an Expert questions. And so, for those that are unfamiliar, we are Master Gardeners, and that is with the Oregon State University Extension Service. And the office here
Is
in Yale.
in McMinnville, down on Lafayette Avenue. And our job is to answer questions from the public, and that's pretty much what we do. We also have a website available, Ask an Expert, where people send in their questions. Mm-hmm. And so this one, it says, vintage butter okay for cookies. And I couldn't get it out of my head. I just glanced at it, and it says, vintage butter okay for cookies? And so the question is, I made cookie dough, then realized the butter had probably been in my fridge for a year. I've put the dough in the freezer until I hear from you whether it is safe to eat. It doesn't smell bad, as far as I can tell, and it's a question from Washington County.
I guess the first question I'd ask is, number one, was it in the fridge or in the freezer?
Right. Yeah.
And quite honestly, for the risk factor and something another like that, and the fact that if you're going to go to trouble to make cookies, use fresh ingredients.
You think fresh ingredients.
And
but
you
here-
don't want to take a chance
I will
with
always take a
something
chance
that will
on
have
butter.
bacteria.
See, for me, butter has always been that thing that it used to always sit on the counter, and then for some reason, like in the 80s or 90s, everybody started putting it in the refrigerator. But you can't use it when it's in the refrigerator because it's clumpy, and so I've always left mine out on the counter, and it has an expiration date of infinity for me. That's what my butter is. But so the answer that they gave is the question of when butter is unsafe to eat is a tricky one. There are many food safety resources that have different recommended storage times for butter. See, how do you get conflicting science? There should only be one science. So I'm not surprised that you are unsure whether or not you can eat your cookie dough.
Right.
So the varying storage times are based on the type of wrapper and the type of butter and how it was made. So it can come up to let's say 4 months at some point.
I keep some in my refrigerator that would be a couple of months old and so on like this, which is not a problem whatsoever as long as it's properly stored.
Mm-hmm.
I keep my current cube of butter on a covered butter dish on my counter, but it's usually gone in 2 days.
Right, exactly. It's
You know,
gone.
so why do I want to have to try and cut through this solid block of unspreadable mass?
Exactly.
So yeah, the current cube is out. The rest of it's in the fridge, and if worse comes to worse, nuke it half.
And that is
Yeah.
that's kind of the point in this answer here is
Yeah.
is that if you don't see it, if it's not red, it's not usually rancid. If it's not
Right.
smelling bad, then you should be safe for it. So the answer was given by Jenny Rudolph. She's a family and community health educator with the Columbia County Extension Service. But it caught my eye because I will do that with butter. I will. It has a lifespan of infinity.
It does, but one of the things I would challenge you to do sometime
No.
is take a fresh cube of butter to room temperature and set it next to the one that's been on the counter for 4 or 5 days and taste each one.
Oh, that's a good point.
We use butter not only for its shortening value, but as a spread because it tastes good. We put it in cookies because it tastes good. When we do fresh baking, if I'm going to bake, I'm going to use good ingredients. I'm not going to waste my time with something that doesn't have the flavor. So put a fresh cube of butter next to one you've had on the counter for 3 days and
try that.
taste it.
Yeah, because I actually think that I have convinced myself that nice little crust or that separation of color that happens is a good flavor enhancer. But you're probably right that the butter somehow needs to be shaken back into form and to get everything mixed back in together.
It does lose flavor, yeah.
It does lose flavor. You're right. Like herbs, you leave herbs out, and they lose their flavor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So it's a matter of safety and health and bacteria and things, but it's also a matter of taste, and why waste your money on something that you're not going to enjoy?
Exactly. So we have also on the OSU extension website, which is extension.oregonstate.edu, calendars for every month on In the Garden what you are supposed to do.
Yes.
And so we can get ahead on things here right now if we jump into January.
Yes.
So let's start with the planning. And this is what I did. I actually bought myself a garden journal, and I brought it in a couple of weeks ago. And it's made by the Moleskine things, and it specifically on it says garden journal. So that's exactly what it's made for. But I've got to do it this year, Sharon. I have not. I every once in a while I'll like write down a little note, and I say to myself, I'll go ahead and put that in the journal. Or
And
something
then you
like
lose
that.
the note.
Note's gone.
Yeah,
nothing.
note's gone.
Right. But it's really important to know when plants are coming up and where they are in your garden, and to do that you've got to write it down because we don't remember everything.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
No. So you've got a journal, Sharon? Do you have a journal? No,
Yeah,
that's a
no,
pause.
I've done the calendar thing and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll be really honest with you. The journal that I have been using, we have some wonderful ladies with Master Gardener who plan what to put in our greenhouses to have it ready for certain times,
Mm-hmm.
and right down to which week we're going to seed in the lettuce seeds or the squash seeds or anything like that. And they do such a magnificent job of it that I neglect to do it myself. I just
that
say
is a journal, right? They've
yeah.
given you the journal.
Yeah,
They've said, this is what
exactly.
we're going
Yeah,
to do, and this is
right.
what we did.
Right. So between Gail and Patty and Linda and all the ladies and Sylvia that work in the greenhouse and the demonstration garden and so on like that, they have wonderful journals that I make use of. So I have to admit that I'm very negligent in that. But
Yeah.
one of the things I need to remember is that my yard is not the same as what we have at our facility.
It's kind of different, actually,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I do kind of keep track, but I must admit I don't keep a journal.
We're
But it's
gonna-
a great thing to do. It
Yep,
really
yep.
is.
This year, it's my New Year's resolution is I will be keeping a journal for that. So, I mean, because you can better plan for the season.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that I got, it's got nice pockets, places for pictures, it's pre-tabbed out, saying planning here, materials needed. I mean, it's so fancified that it's all I have to do is say.
You need a secretary to
something.
keep track of it for you.
Good point. We should actually try and do that. But then, okay, so you've got your garden journal.
Mm-hmm.
You need to start looking at the seeds and seed catalogs. It's about
Yeah,
that
if you
time.
haven't preserved your own seeds, you would need to do that.
Right.
Again, I can the seed catalogs, and unfortunately, planning ahead is important because our area being different than if you were in some place where you have a warmer, drier climate. Our seeds aren't brought in as early as I would like sometimes, and I'm scrambling around trying to find what I want. And then if it's a seed that's popular and I've waited too long, I'm not going to find it, and that's frustrating. So, yes, definitely
And the point-
researching what you need, where you're going to get it.
The point you're making is that for a lot of our plants, let's say the tomato, you want to get those seeds earlier and plant them in the greenhouse and then put them outside. Otherwise, if you
Oh.
wait until the soil's ready for tomatoes, it's going to be too late.
Absolutely.
You've lost at least 6
Right.
weeks of growing season.
Right.
So some of those seeds aren't available for when we need to start planting them end of March, Aprilish.
That's right.
So that's a good point. But you've got a nice catalog of your own seeds.
I do, and a lot of my seeds, I have some that are catalogs. I know where my resources are to go and get them, but then I preserve a lot of my seeds myself from my plants that I had from the year before, because what's really fun about doing that is they're already acclimated to my area.
Yeah.
It's like if you buy bulbs and they come from some other geographic area, they have to adapt to our climate. Okay. Same thing with the seeds. If these plants do well in our climate, these are the ones that we want. So keeping your journals, if we do that properly.
Let's do that. Let's make sure we do that.
Yeah, it tells us which ones did well,
Right.
so that we remember what we want to put in next year. And I did that with my tomato plants and several different things this year. And there was a couple of things I was trying to grow that didn't do well, and I'm going, okay, why am I continuing to waste my time on that? So,
Yeah, I collected rose hips, and I got some seeds out of there. I've never planted a rose from seed.
I haven't done it from seed. I've done it from cuttings quite a bit.
So it's something that I'm going to actually get into this. Yeah, I plant the seed, right? That's the easy part. Let's go ahead and make sure that they come back up. What I did have to make sure is that the rose that I had gotten this rose hip from wasn't patented, and I was able to actually replant it, because apparently you can't reseed certain patented plants, and it gets kind of confusing at some points.
It
But I
does.
made sure that this was an okay rose for me to go ahead and replant, and I won't have the federal government coming in on me or destroying my garden or anything like that.
No.
But the important, maybe you want to start beginning the vegetable garden planning. Ray was talking about the spinach, the colorful spinach that's outside somebody's window up there in Seattle, and easily found here too. The kale is already going, so
but you might want to start moving into the other vegetables.
Actually, some of the lettuces and spinaches and things of this sort, and radishes and everything, last year I was picking them in late February.
Yeah, I've got not wild
Yeah.
radishes, but radishes left over that are self-seeded, and they're coming up fine right
Yeah.
now still.
Yeah, as long as they're protected. And mine, because I have a very small yard, I don't have, a lot of land like you do at your house. And so I have a raised box planter. And one side of it has a spot for my peas and beans to grow on, so they can start growing early in the year also. But if I have them in that box and I have a sheet of plastic that goes over the top of it to protect them from the cooler weather, and gee, you can almost have them year round if you do it right.
Yeah, I know. We talk about Alan Wenner. He's almost the king of the hoops because he just opens those things up in the middle of winter, and you've got these green, big, huge things going on year round. So it's a pretty incredible. And the raised beds, I mean, that's an easy thing to make, and then an easy thing to cover.
Yes,
that's
it
actually
is.
why you have them, so that you can control them. So what else do we have going on? Well, you know what? Actually, we've got to take one last break.
Oh,
Yes.
oh my goodness, the time is flying by.
It does do that.
It's amazing.
So
It's amazing.
let's take one break, and when we come back, we'll finish off with some things that we can be doing coming up here in January. For right now, you're listening to The Root of It right here on KLYC, 1260 AM.
Service. That's D&D Electrical, 503-472-4003. Ready to go to work for you right now. D&D Electrical, McMinnville.
This is Gary with Christensen Auto Sales, McMinnville's newest used car dealer, located out here on Highway 99 next to Cascade Steel. We offer a large selection of quality pre-owned vehicles. We also offer easy-to-qualify financing with no formal credit check and buy here, pay here credit terms. If you have a verifiable source of income, a permanent address, and a down payment on some vehicles as low as $500, we'll have you driving down the road today in your new vehicle. So come down and see us at 3080 Northeast Highway 99, or check us out on the web at christensenautosales.net. That's CHRISTENSEN autosales.net, or call us at 503-687-2080.
To the Root of It on AM 1260 KLYC is brought to you by Recology's Northwest Greenland in McMinnville. You know, it takes more than a pile of decomposing yard debris and leaves to make your soil healthy and your plants happy. That's why Recology actively manages their compost to ensure the highest level of microbial activity. The rich soil amendments promote healthy plant life in your vineyard, your nursery, your yard, and your garden. Recology's compost, which is certified for organic growing, can enhance overall soil quality, provide plants with nutrients they need to grow larger and healthier, minimize the need for chemical fertilizers and pesticides, increase your soil's ability to hold moisture and retain nutrients, feed helpful earthworms, create a buffer for your plants against common toxins in the soil, and control pH levels and support essential bacterial growth. It's more than just compost. It's food for your soil. Northwest Greenland's a Recology company. In McMinnville at 2200 Northeast Orchard Avenue. Call Recology Northwest Greenlands at 503-434-1671. 503-434-1671. Recology Northwest Greenlands, a proud sponsor of To the Root of It on KLYC.
To the Root of It right here on KLYC 1260 AM. You might be streaming us on Facebook.com because that's where we are. You just go to Facebook.com, search for KLYC Radio. Bang, there we are.
streaming.
There you are.
You could also friend the radio station, too. It's always nice to friend a radio station.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We can always use friends.
So we were talking about seed care, actually, and you brought up a really valid point. The expiration date on the seed packages might not always be so accurate.
Well, this is
You can
true.
take a chance.
It's a guideline.
Right.
It's really a guideline. And when we were talking a little while ago, it was regarding the fact of planning ahead and getting your seeds and having them available for when you're ready to plant them. I have seed packages, and if you look on the back of them, they say packed for the year 2012 or 2013 or 2014. And those are a guideline so that you know how fresh that they are. Okay, so if you have a seed packet that says 2012 on it, and you're going to just put in a few lettuce plants or spinach plants, you don't need to necessarily toss it and go try and find another one. Go ahead and plant them. And if you plant 12 seeds, you may get 6 plants instead of 12 plants.
Because
but
seeds
they're still
are
valid.
Seeds are they're packaged in a way. They've got the little oil in there to sustain them for possible years because they're not guaranteed next year is going to rain. It's not going to be ideal
right.
for them. Maybe they landed on a rock somewhere, or they're not in the ideal conditions yet. So so they're made to last for a couple of years or not.
But if you're going to keep them,
Yeah.
put them in a Ziploc.
Ziploc.
And put them in the refrigerator. Okay, because if they're in a Ziploc, they're not going to get more dried out and atrophied than what they already are. Some kind of a plastic container or a snap close type of thing, and put them in a vegetable drawer in the
Because
back
once
or
it loses
something.
that oil that's inside of it, that's
yeah.
what it's no longer a viable
Exactly,
seed. So if
yeah.
you see them cracked or something like that, then you know it's probably not viable because it's dried out.
Exactly.
And from my personal experience, and this is my personal experience, you're absolutely right. I overbought lettuce one year in 2011. And so I had a whole bunch of seeds that I've just been reusing and reusing. And they've been slowly degrading in success with each year until this year I finally used them all. But they didn't all come back like they did the first year. But with the corn that was also from the same year that I have been also recycling, it's almost like no success. I planted a dozen seeds last year, and I actually had 2 of them come up for the corn. And those were seeds that were so at this point 3 years old.
And how did you store them when they were being?
I stored them perfectly. I returned them back into their container. I put their container on a shelf in the back of my house.
Okay.
So they were not climate controlled.
Right.
They were not taken care of in any way. They were left to the winds of my dryer.
Well, that's when we were speaking, I used a comparison, just a visual, if you will, that you could put in your mind, and that is on the desert where my daughter lives. And so many seeds are dropped and blow in and everything, and they sit there in the sand in very poor conditions on the desert. And all of a sudden they get a good rain sometime, and the desert blooms.
Yep.
All of those seeds that have been sitting there for years. So if you take care of them, you can reuse a lot of those seeds.
Right, a lot of them, and because they're made to do that and to come back. But for me, it was a nice experience, experiment to see how long these seeds are actually viable.
It is, and you are going to lose some.
Yep.
That's just
So
the way it
if
goes.
if you have these seeds that are 3 or 4 years old, you're going to want to plant a little more, and you're determined to use them because it's not like butter, right? It's not like butter sitting out on the counter. These
No.
are still things that are going to grow and become as flavorful as they would have been.
Absolutely,
before.
absolutely, and if, like we said, if you found seeds that did really, really well, and they produced really, really well, if you can save some of those seeds or get some of the same, that's what you're going to enjoy next year. So keep your journal,
keep
catalog what would you really liked, because next year you'll be scratching your head.
Do you have a particular seed that you're like, from last year that you're like, I grabbed that and now I have it and I cannot wait to put it back in the ground?
Yes, I do. I have packages of several different flower seeds. Not as much in the vegetables. I actually preserved some of my butternut squash seeds, and when I cleaned it out, I washed the seeds, laid them out on a paper towel, let them dry, and then after they were dry, I put them in an envelope, marked the envelope what it was, and put it in a plastic bag. And when it's time to seed for plants this year, I'll use those.
Yeah.
but it was a good product. I enjoyed the flavor of it. And, with vegetables, it's very much like it is with flowers. You've got roses of a bazillion different colors and so on like that. And so if you find one that's your favorite, that's the way. Same
You've
thing
got
with
to be able to
vegetables.
keep it
Yeah, how
somehow,
many
right?
how many varieties of tomatoes are there?
Yeah.
And it's even at the what they call the determinate versus the indeterminate tomatoes.
Yeah.
You know what the difference is?
One keeps growing and one reaches a certain
It's the
height.
production, right? One is the one that are determinate. There's a determined size and production time, so they would be more like the farmer who's going to grow them for the market.
Right.
The indeterminate is so much better for the homeowner who wants to have their cherry tomatoes or their sweet millions or their sun golds
And
producing the
that is
entire
seed-
season.
That is the seed that I collected this year, were my indeterminate Gardener's Delight tomato seeds that are these little tiny, smaller than grape-sized tomatoes, and they just grow along the ground, and they're essentially ground cover, and they're really nice. And so I can't wait to put those back in the ground.
Yeah, my sweet millions were my favorite this year. I could be out in the yard working, and as I'm working my way through my garden, I'm eating.
But you didn't get those from? Did you get those from the plant sale?
No, I seeded them myself. I've got this little portable greenhouse that we take apart and put back together, and it's because I don't have a big yard or anything, yeah. But yeah, I planted every one of those babies. In fact, I had to control myself. The first time I seeded my tomatoes, I had 80 plants because I got carried away.
And that is the easiest thing to do with tomatoes, is to get carried away, not
Yeah.
thinking that, well, they all look different. Like, okay, well, I got to have a purple one, and well, that's a green one. Okay, I guess I have to have an orange one, and
Yeah.
this and then that. And then before you know it, you don't realize that they actually then grow beyond their own size, too.
Yeah. Last season, I was much more controlled. I only had about 20 of them, so I kept 3 for myself and supplied them for all of the families, and even off the 3 that I had, because I had selected those seeds that would produce the most, that was for home consumption and so on. And I was feeding 4 of my neighbors tomatoes all season off of 3 plants. So it's fun.
Yeah, my goal this year is controlled tomato growth.
Yes,
because
yes.
they've taken over. They require their own box now, and that shouldn't. It's a 12-foot box.
Yeah.
And just too many tomatoes doing whatever they want and just not under control.
Well, yeah, and I hate waste.
Yeah, and
I
that's
don't
what
like
it
to
was. It
waste.
came down to waste.
And even though I was feeding the 4 of the neighbors, I took a lot of vegetables from my garden, as did a lot of my friends from my art group and whatnot. And we took our excess to the senior center. And they have a big table in the entryway where we can bring our excess in freshly picked that day from our garden and leave it there, and they take it home with them, which is absolutely fantastic. Love it.
Incredible. Well, I think we're done, Sharon.
I think we are. And just remember, we're out there at 2050 Lafayette, out
Right.
there near the Safeway Market on Lafayette. And Master Gardeners are there to answer questions, help you with anything. Call them in, come in, drop in, bring your samples in. And,
Yeah, if you have any questions, you can also go to the website, extension.oregonstate.edu/Yamhill, and that'll have directions to the Extension office if you have any questions about gardening,
Absolutely.
plants, food. The Extension Service offers a lot of different services for you. So for right now, though, we're going to go heal a little bit more for myself. And but thanks for coming in, Sharon, and thanks, Ray, for giving us a call, and thanks, Kyle, for being here. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Kyle, for being here. Keep your tools sharp.
Thanks.